Hey guys, welcome back to the Merc Cruiser 120 engine rebuild GM 153. So today is going to be a very big day. So we're going to be starting up the engine, which all you guys been waiting for, and I appreciate it. But first thing is that we're going to prime the engine, get the oil circulating through the engine, and then we're going to hook up the ignition wires, because that's the only thing left that we had to do that, and I installed the plugs already, so that's ready to go. And then we'll talk about the engine stand, the run stand that I have that I made out of wood. And so I'm going to do that, and then we're going to fire up, and that whole headache trying to get things started up. So word of caution is watch your ears if your headphones, or if you're on your TV watching it or phone. I tried to turn the volume down, but the volume's kind of loud because actually the exhaust is quiet, but I blew the manifold gasket that's underneath the carburetor. My homemade one didn't last very long. It blew out right away, so it was really loud. So I tried to turn the volume down, so just give you a little bit of caution on that. So, further ado, let's get moving into the video. The first thing to do is to get the Rover out of the garage and get the engine off the engine stand, and we'll get her all set up. So thank you for following along. I appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Stay awesome, and I'll see you at the end of the video. Big event. We're taking it off the engine stand. We're going to run it here. So I got the spark plugs all installed, and they're gapped. I checked the gap on them. So our coil's installed. So our distributor, before we can start this up, we have to prime the engine. So that's what we're going to do now. So what I did is I got, I think this is a 5/16 rod, roughly about, I don't know, a foot long maybe. And I ground down the ends to be flat to go down into the oil pump. Because inside where the distributor is, you can't see down in there, but right at the distributor down into there goes straight down to the oil pump. Because the distributor actually drives the oil pump with that flat part on the end. So what I did is I replicated the end on here. So put you back. Okay, so according to our repair manual, it goes this way, so it goes clockwise, the distributor. So I'm going to run the distributor drive down in there going clockwise. You can hear the oil moving around in there. One person said if you see I saw online, if you take the valve covers off, you should see oil squirting out of the top. Let's take a look at that.
Not sure why this one isn't getting oil to it.
I'm not too sure about this one rocker arm, but I filled it up with oil to be the same as all the rest of them. We'll check on this one after it's run, see if it still gets oil and it comes out of it. So now we have the engine primed up. We got plenty of oil. It's coming around everywhere except for that one rocker arm, like I said. So since the oil pump gets fed off of the distributor on the bottom, we have to put this in a special way and make sure that this little arm thing is in the right position. So according to our book, we want number 1 to be pointing over here to number 1, actually. You want it to be sitting kind of like that. You can see. And it's kind of in the same position. Actually, I guess it kind of sat like that. Yeah, so then your wire's over here for the coil. So I'd say it probably should be like that, is what it looks like to me. Okay, so we need to turn that. Looks like it almost has to be horizontal or on an angle from where number 1 sits, and this thing here is kind of at 90 degrees. Kind of looks like, but yeah, you have to check your own distributor to see what yours is. All right, so it's real tricky to get that in there. So now you can see I had to use the drill and turn and just kind of move that oil pump around until you put your distributor in, but this distributor drive gear is actually on a little spiral that goes on there that makes it turn. So when you put it in, it's going to want to spin this way. So you got to lift it up out, move it a little over to a next tooth, and then kind of spin it down in and see if it all lines up. So I think we're pretty good right there. So number 1's pointing at number 1, the distributor. So I think we're pretty close right there. So I'm gonna leave that just like that. So I'm going to put the cap on, and then we'll do the wires. So, like I got a new cap and rotor and everything, distributor's in, set to 1, kind of should get us pretty close, and the engine's still at top dead center, so we should be pretty close for starting it up. So since I got a cap and rotor and new plugs, I figure get new wires too. So these should be pre-made, ready to roll. I got to cut the zip tie. Let's take a look at the wires. Look like we got our coil wire right there. Yeah, put it in there like that. We got 4 different lengths, it looks like. Wait. Oh, they gave you an extra coil wire to put your coil somewhere else. So I have to hold on to that. So we know number 1 is here. Number 1 will go over to there. So we'll use the short one. Short one for that. Okay, so then the firing order is now, we rotate this way, so this should be number 3. According to our manual too, let's take a quick look. Yeah, so the next one would be number 3. So that would be probably the 3rd longest one. All right, so next one is number 4, here to there. Now, these wires are really long. Okay, and the last one should be number 2. Here's our spark plug wires. Boy, they're really long. Kind of annoying. So anyways, let's go see what we do next. Next thing is to take the battery out of the rover. So the engine's about ready to fire up. So here's the run stand we got. We got a radiator from the old series truck, the one that came with it when I pulled it out from the farm. It's got a little bit of a leak right here, but as long as I keep the hose running, I think we'll keep it topped off the whole time. And I got some PVC pipe and some rubber hose that I bought for the cooling to go into there. So then I bought some exhaust pipe. I got an elbow and a 2-inch flange on the end for it's like a wide open, like an angled one with a little O-ring inside there. So it goes down like this. I had to bend this, and then I got a muffler off of Facebook for 20 bucks. It's from a Hyundai, but I think it'll work just fine. And I borrowed a bell housing from a buddy of mine at work. He does drag racing and things like this and uses it for a mock-up. So it's for a V8, but I just bolted it to the back of the engine, and then I just put a bunch of bolts there to bolt it to a piece of plywood. And then the sides, like I mentioned in another video, I used the same control arms that the rat rod, the guy that I got the engine off of had rat rod ones. So I got a block of wood holding that side. And this side I got a block of wood holding that up. So what I did is I put a piece of wood underneath it to hold those blocks together. And I used some 2x4s to hold the radiator up. And so the engine's all supported. We got exhaust, we got cooling, we'll say. I think that's good enough. But carburetor, I did put some fuel in there. So like you said, we got the spark plugs on, we got it primed. And then wiring is, I got the battery from the Rover. I don't have it hooked up. I only have the positive. I don't have the negative hooked up now. So what I got is, let's see. So we got the power here to the starter, power side of the starter. And then I have a trigger, one of these that you just do that to start the engine. So I just jumped that from the positive right over to the other terminal, the starter terminal. So then, let's see, we got the starter here hooked up. So the coil itself, I'm going to have a wire coming over to the positive, or actually to our resistor down here, over to the battery, and that's not hooked up either yet. And then this plus here, that red wire coming over is for our old school tachometer. And there's no choke on the carburetor, so that should be good. So that's all the pieces and parts together. So I don't know how much this is going to shake whenever it starts, but we'll be interested to see. All right, so we got our cooling started. You can see there, it's real efficient. So how many cranks do you think this is going to take to start up? Okay, so let's give her a try. At this point, I was kind of wondering if everything was working right or something was wrong, because I didn't want to fire at all. So I pulled the valve cover off, and I wanted to see if all the valves were opening, if they were opening clear and smooth, and they all looked good. So we were good with getting all the valves opening and closing. So I put the valve cover back on and went for some more cranks. So the engine started firing, but it was firing up through the carburetor, so it definitely was a timing issue, so I had to adjust the distributor a little bit to get it to start. So at this point, the engine started breaking in, but I couldn't adjust the carburetor anymore, and my little block fell off the exhaust, so I had to fix that too, which was very important. But on the throttle of the carburetor, there's a little spring, and on that spring, you can't adjust the carburetor to idle up higher, so up into the 2000s. So I had to take that little spring off, and then we can start it back up and go back into the engine break-in process. I hope you guys enjoyed the running video of it running. It started running, and it started up really nice the second time. So the main issue that I found on there later on, we'll talk about this again in the next video, is the ignition resistor that I have on there. It would not let the engine start up right away. But we'll talk about that later. But anyway, there's a few other little things like the intake gasket I got to replace. I got to buy one of those. And a couple other things too that I noticed while it was running that I didn't really like. So there's a few little things in the next video I'm going to go over, just kind of get the engine all tied up and good to go for whenever we go to put it in the Rover later on. So thank you very much. Liking and subscribing and following along. You guys are awesome. So stay awesome, and thank you for all the positive comments. Bye-bye.